Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive.
Well,
It's all about how machine learning is transforming supply chains and how those changes are going to have a direct impact on you.
absolutely.
So we're breaking down an article from Procure4 Marketing called Machine Learning Applications in Supply Chain.
It's an area that's really evolving quickly. We're seeing huge advancements that are changing how goods are produced, shipped, and delivered.
Yeah, I was reading about how some companies are using machine learning to predict demand with incredible accuracy.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
talking about knowing exactly how much of a product they need, like before anyone even orders it.
That's right. Algorithms are analyzing these massive data sets. They factor in things like past sales, seasonality, even social media trends.
Wow.
It's really like having a crystal ball that tells you what people want before they even know it themselves.
So instead of those like frustrating out of stock messages or those long wait times, you get your order delivered quickly
Hmm.
because companies have already anticipated the demand.
Yeah.
That's what machine learning is doing for supply chains.
It's not just about convenience, though. Think about the potential for reducing waste. No more overstocked warehouses full of products that nobody wants.
Okay, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
What exactly is machine learning and how does it actually work?
So it's a type of artificial intelligence where computers learn from data without being explicitly programmed for every single scenario.
Right.
They analyze patterns, they identify trends, and use that information to make predictions or decisions.
So it's like teaching a computer to play chess.
Uh-huh.
You don't give it all the possible moves. You kind of let it learn by playing games and analyzing the outcomes.
Exactly. In supply chains, that translates to things like optimizing inventory levels, predicting maintenance needs, and even identifying potential disruptions before they happen.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics.
Yeah.
What are some of the core applications of machine learning in a supply chain?
Well, demand forecasting is a big one, like we were just discussing. Instead of relying on guesswork or historical data alone, machine learning can use complex algorithms to predict future demand with remarkable accuracy.
So instead of that restaurant running out of burgers at lunchtime, they can predict exactly how many they'll need based on factors like weather, local events, and even social media buzz.
Precisely, it helps businesses be more efficient, reduce waste, and ultimately keep customers happier.
Now, this whole idea of inventory optimization fascinates me. I imagine it's a game changer for companies trying to keep costs down.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where warehouses are never overstocked, but also never run out of the products people need.
So no more scrambling for last-minute shipments or products sitting on shelves gathering dust.
Exactly. Machine learning can analyze a multitude of factors, like past sales data supplier lead times, even predicted weather patterns that could affect delivery schedules.
Right.
It helps companies strike that perfect balance between having enough inventory to meet demand and minimizing storage costs.
That's a win-win for everyone. And then there's route optimization. This is where I start to picture those self-driving delivery trucks we hear so much about.
Well, we're not quite at the stage of fully autonomous vehicles yet, but machine learning is already having a significant impact on delivery routes. Algorithms are being used to analyze traffic patterns in real-time weather conditions and even the specific needs of each delivery.
So no more delivery trucks stuck in rush hour traffic or delayed by unexpected road closures.
That's the idea. It means faster deliveries, lower fuel costs, and ultimately a smaller carbon footprint.
Okay, so we've got these amazing applications, demand forecasting, inventory optimization, route optimization. But how does machine learning actually work its magic? What's happening behind the scenes to make all this possible?
It all starts with data supply chains. Generate mountains of data every single day, from where products are sourced and manufactured to how they're shipped and ultimately purchased by consumers.
That's like a massive interconnected web of information, but how do we make sense of it all?
That's where machine learning comes in. It sifts through this sea of data, identifies patterns that humans might miss, and uses that information to make predictions and recommendations.
So it's like having a team of super-powered analysts working around the clock to find those hidden insights and help businesses make smarter decisions.
You could say that. And then there's the Internet of Things, or IoT, which adds another layer of intelligence to the mix. We're talking about a network of interconnected devices and sensors that are constantly gathering and transmitting data in real time.
So it's like having eyes and ears everywhere throughout the supply chain, feeding information back into the system.
Precisely, this allows machine learning algorithms to make adjustments on the fly, responding to changes in real time. For example, if a sensor detects that a particular product is running low in a certain location, it can automatically trigger an order to restock, preventing a potential shortage before it even happens.
That's incredible. It's like the supply chain is becoming self-aware.
Ugh.
Okay, but I have to ask, are there any downsides to all this?
Well, like any technology, there are some challenges and limitations to consider. One of the biggest is data quality and accessibility.
Because you can't make good decisions based on bad data, right? It's like trying to bake a cake with the wrong ingredients.
Exactly. Machine learning algorithms are only as good as the data they're trained on, so ensuring that data is accurate, complete, and readily available is crucial, and that can be a major hurdle, especially when you're dealing with complex global supply chains.
So it's not just about having the right technology, it's also about having the right data infrastructure to support it.
Absolutely. And then there's the complexity of implementing machine learning into existing systems. It's not a simple plug-and-play solution.
It's more like upgrading the operating system of your entire company, right? It requires careful planning, technical expertise, and often significant changes to the way things are done.
You got it. And that brings us to another challenge, the skills gap. We
Mhm.
need more people who understand both the intricacies of supply chains and the complexities of data science and machine learning.
So anyone listening who's looking for a career change, this is a field with huge growth potential.
Absolutely. The demand for these skills is only going to increase as machine learning becomes even more integrated into our lives.
Well, speaking of the future, what's next for machine learning in supply chains? What can we expect to see down the road?
It's an exciting time to be in this field. That's for sure one of the big trends is deeper integration with blockchain technology, which has the potential to revolutionize supply chain transparency.
Blockchain, that's the technology behind cryptocurrencies, right? But how does it apply to supply chains?
Well, blockchain is well known for cryptocurrencies, but it's much more than that. Imagine a world where every product is tagged with a unique digital identifier that's recorded on a blockchain, allowing it to be tracked from its origin all the way to the consumer.
So no more counterfeit goods slipping through the cracks or products being sourced from unethical suppliers.
Exactly. Blockchain creates a permanent tamper-proof record of every step in the supply chain.
Okay, so that's blockchain. What else is on the horizon?
We're also going to see even more widespread use of the Internet of Things for real-time insights. Those sensors we talked about earlier, they're going to become even more sophisticated and interconnected, providing a constant stream of data that machine learning algorithms can use to optimize operations.
It's like giving the supply chain a nervous system that can sense and respond to everything happening around it.
A great analogy. And of course, we can't forget about the rise of autonomous systems. We're talking about self-driving trucks, delivery drones, even robots working in warehouses, all powered by machine learning algorithms.
Now we're talking that futuristic vision is starting to feel a lot closer than I thought.
It is. And these advancements have the potential to create a more efficient, sustainable, and ultimately a more resilient supply chain that can adapt to the ever-changing demands of the world.
Okay, I'm officially blown away. We've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Can we do a quick recap of the key takeaways before we move on?
Absolutely. We started by defining machine learning and exploring its core applications in supply chain management, focusing on demand forecasting, inventory optimization, and route optimization.
Right, those are the big three. We also talked about how data analytics and the Internet of Things are essential components that make all of this possible.
Exactly. And we touched on some of the challenges involved, such as data quality, implementation complexity, and the need for specialized skills.
Because it's not all sunshine and roses,
Yeah.
there's some real hurdles to overcome.
That's right. But despite the challenges, the potential benefits of machine learning for supply chains are undeniable.
Well said. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive, but I have one final question before we wrap up. We've talked about how machine learning can help us optimize existing processes and predict future trends. But what about unforeseen events? Things like natural disasters, political unrest, global pandemics. Could machine learning help us anticipate these types of disruptions and build more resilient supply chains in the future?
That's a fascinating question, and one that researchers and innovators are actively exploring. There's certainly potential there, but it's a complex challenge that requires a deep understanding of not just data, but also human behavior, geopolitics, and a host of other factors. It's a topic that deserves its own deep dive and one that we'll be keeping our eyes on.
That's something to ponder. All right, everyone, that's a wrap for part one of our exploration into machine learning in supply chains. We'll be back soon with part two, where we'll continue to uncover the fascinating ways this technology is shaping the world around us.
Join us as we continue this journey into the world of intelligent supply chains. Welcome back to our deep dive into machine learning and supply chains.
Yeah, I'm excited to pick up where we left off. We were just starting to talk about how machine learning can make supply chains more resilient. even when like unexpected things happen.
It's a topic that's getting a lot of attention lately, especially as companies and governments are, trying to figure out how to deal with a world that's increasingly unpredictable.
It really is. And it's fascinating to think about how algorithms can be used to anticipate and kind of like lessen risks that we might not even know about yet.
Right. Imagine a system that could take data from all sorts of sources, weather patterns, news reports, even social media, and then identify problems before they happen.
So instead of being caught off guard, companies could just change their plans and keep things running smoothly.
Exactly. And this ability to kind of predict and change is going to be so important in the coming years as we face things like climate change, geopolitics, and pandemics.
Okay, so we've talked about the good stuff, but I think it's important to acknowledge that there might be some downsides to consider. I mean, any technology this powerful is bound to have some unintended consequences.
That's a good point, and it's something we need to be really careful about as we develop and use these technologies. One of the biggest challenges is making sure that they're used ethically and responsibly.
I'm thinking about things like data privacy,
Mm.
algorithmic bias,
Yeah.
the potential for job displacement. These are complex issues.
Absolutely. We need to make clear rules and safeguards to make sure that these technologies help everyone, not just a small group.
For example, how do we make sure that these algorithms aren't biased or discriminating against certain people?
That's a great question. It's something that people are working on right now. One way is to make sure that the data used to train these algorithms is diverse and represents everyone.
So it's not just about the algorithms, it's about the data too.
Exactly. And it's also about being transparent about how these things work and making sure that humans are always involved, overseeing things, and making the final decisions.
Transparency and accountability are key.
Absolutely. We also need to think about what might happen to jobs as these technologies get more advanced. They could automate tasks currently done by people.
Yeah, a lot of people worry about robots taking their jobs.
It makes sense, and it's something we have to take seriously. But it's important to remember that new technologies have always led to changes in jobs throughout history.
So we shouldn't be afraid of robots. We should just be ready to adapt and prepare for new types of jobs.
Exactly. We need to invest in education and training programs to give people the skills they need in a world with more machine learning.
Makes sense. But it's not just up to individual workers to change governments. And businesses also need to work together to create policies and programs that support this.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that the benefits of these technologies are shared with everyone and that no one is left behind.
Okay, so we've talked about some possible problems, but I want to focus on the good stuff because I believe that these technologies have the potential to really make a difference in the world.
I agree, and it's important to highlight how machine learning can be used for good, for example. It can create more sustainable and resilient supply chains, which is crucial with climate change and resource scarcity.
I was reading about how companies are using it to optimize their transportation routes, which reduces fuel consumption and emissions.
Exactly, and we're also seeing companies use it to track products to make sure that they're sourced ethically and sustainably.
So customers can feel better about what they buy, knowing that they're not supporting things like deforestation or human rights abuses.
Exactly. These are just a few examples. There are so many possibilities. Machine learning has the potential to change every aspect of the supply chain.
That's really inspiring. It sounds like we're at the beginning of a big change in how things are made, shipped, and delivered all over the world.
We are. It's a really exciting time. The next few years are going to be important as we figure out the challenges and opportunities.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens, and I really appreciate your insights. You've given me a lot to think about.
It's been great talking with you. I'm confident machine learning will play a big role in shaping a better future.
And that's a great thought to end on. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into machine learning and supply chains.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, right from the basics to how this could change things for businesses and just, everyday life.
We've covered algorithms that can predict demand, so accurately optimize those delivery routes, even anticipate disruptions before they happen. It's all super impressive. But I want to see how these concepts are actually being used in the real world.
Okay, let's dive into some real-world examples. One area where we're seeing a huge impact is personalized customer experiences.
Okay, so how does that work? Is it like when you get recommendations on streaming or shopping sites?
It's similar, but even more tailored to what you need and what you like. Imagine you order groceries online all the time.
I do that all the time.
Well, a machine learning algorithm could look at what you've bought before, find patterns in your orders, and even consider things like where you live and the time of year.
So it could figure out that I buy a ton of snacks during football season or that I stock up on certain ingredients when I'm having a dinner party.
Exactly. And it could use that info to make your shopping experience better, like maybe suggest things you forgot or even new products you might like based on what you've bought before.
That would be so helpful.
Well,
What other examples are there?
another area is fraud detection. Companies like Amazon and eBay are using these algorithms to find and stop fake transactions.
That's great for businesses and customers.
Absolutely. These algorithms can analyze millions of transactions super fast, looking for patterns that might be fraud. They can flag weird orders, stop people from getting into accounts they shouldn't, and even help catch cybercriminals.
Wow, it's like having digital detectives working 24/7 to keep our online shopping safe.
And don't forget about the progress in warehouse. Automation companies are using machine learning to create robots that can pick and pack orders, move things around, and even do quality checks.
So those robots we see in movies are real now.
They are, and they're getting smarter. They can move around complicated spaces, handle all sorts of products, and even learn from their mistakes.
That's kind of scary, but also really cool.
It's a huge change for the world of logistics.
Nah.
These robots can work all the time, never get tired, don't make mistakes, and they can make warehouses so much more efficient.
I can see how that's important, especially with online shopping growing so fast.
Exactly, and it's not just about robots taking over jobs. They can work with humans doing the boring or dangerous stuff and freeing up humans to do the more complex things.
So it's not us versus them. It's about working together to get things done better.
Exactly. And that leads us to another exciting area, using machine learning to predict when maintenance is needed.
Okay, tell me more.
Imagine sensors attached to equipment in a factory or warehouse. Those sensors collect data on things like temperature vibrations, how much energy is being used.
So they're basically listening to the machines.
Exactly, and all that data goes into a machine learning algorithm that can analyze it and look for patterns that might mean there's a problem coming.
So instead of waiting for a machine to break down, they can predict when it might happen and fix it before it's a problem.
That's right. And this can save companies a lot of money and time. It prevents those expensive shutdowns, lowers maintenance costs, and even makes equipment last longer.
That's great for everyone. So it's pretty clear that machine learning is changing supply chains in big ways, and it feels like we're just getting started.
Absolutely. As technology keeps getting better, we'll see even more amazing things happen that will transform how we make, ship, and deliver goods around the world.
This has been such a fascinating look into the world of machine learning and supply chains. I have a whole new understanding of how complex and important this field is.
It's been great talking about this with you. And remember, this is just the beginning, that the future of supply chains is being shaped by machine learning.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into machine learning and supply chains. We'll be back soon with more explorations into the technologies that are changing our world.